Hapatra Vizier of Poisons versus Golos Tireless Pilgrim. We will keep that. Pretty much the only proviso of me keeping an open in hand is if we've got lands in hand, preferably of every colour that we need. Start things off with our green mana in Wooded Foothills into Overgrown Tomb and pass over to our opponent. Yeah, I've had the Hapatra Vizier of Poisons deck built for quite a while, and it's one of those decks that either does everything or it does nothing. It can have some really explosive games that are pretty entertaining in my opinion, but it doesn't always do everything that you want it to do. It is good having a turn 2 commander most of the time though. So let's get down Hapatra and pass over again. A Sol Ring from our opponent straight into Chromatic Lantern. We don't have much acceleration ourselves, so I don't think we can really get much going here. Just to read the bones, I think, is the best thing for us to go for. Now we can put a minus counter on our own Hapatra to get a snake token, and then that can maybe ramp us with Phyrexian Tower. Let's just see if we can get into lands with this read the bones first. That might dictate what we do. Okay, don't want Carnifex Demon just yet, but we do want a swamp. Alright, Phyrexian Arena as well isn't terrible. Alright, yeah, so let's make a snake. And that will allow us to play Zulaport Cutthroat and Phyrexian Arena next turn by sacrificing the snake to the Phyrexian Tower for 2 mana. We will have to discard here. Don't think we're going to make use of Contagion Engine. Although I don't know, this is the problem with Golos Tireless Pilgrim. Usually, in 1 versus 1 anyway, it's a lands matter version. But sometimes you want to cheat creatures into play with him, so maybe the Contagion Engine would be more useful than we think it might be. But we've got Toxic Deluge to wipe the board anyway if needs be. Getting into Cascading Cataracts, I made good use of that the last time I played Golos. That is another green source we could make use of. And in fact that means we can play Acidic Slime, doesn't it? And blow up the Golos. Golos is going to be 5 mana. Plus 2 is 7. They've got 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1 more land and they'll be able to replay him. Let's see how eager they are to replay Golos by swinging in with a Death Toucher. They might block this just so they can replay Golos. No, they're not that fussed about doing that. So in that case, let's sacrifice the snake. And we'll go for Acidic Slime onto the Sol Ring, and hopefully that will set our opponent back nicely. They've still got access to Wooburg with the Chromatic Lantern, assuming that they get into another land this turn. But it's very, very easy to get into 5 colours with Cascading Cataracts if you have a lot of rocks in play, like a Thran Dynamo for instance. Let's drop a swamp, and what do we want here? Phyrexian Arena I think we definitely want. And then just going for the Zulaport Cutthroat. Well, let's swing in first and see what our opponent does. Yep, just taking that as we thought they would. That is 5 mana there. Going into that makes Wooburg, and then there's 1 and 2 with another land. It might be worth just a Toxic Deluge actually to keep our opponent off of activating Golos. So in that case we'll sacrifice the Acidic Slime. And we'll put 5 life into the Golos. Then go in for Phyrexian Arena. Don't like allowing our opponent to recast Golos, but if they drop a land this turn, then it means that they could have activated Golos and potentially cheated some big stuff out. and they do get into a land. So that is probably the best thing we could have done there. Okay, just going for a Sun Titan. This is one hell of a deck that our opponent's built. And then a Maelstrom Pulse from our opponent gets rid of our Phyrexian Arena. We've got Amit Eternal. That will come in with how many minus counters on it? Oh, it doesn't enter with minus counters. It's whenever an opponent casts a spell, you put a -1/-1 counter on it. Okay. Let's just drop this land and Skin Render, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then sacrifice Skin Render and get down Necro Skitter. Yeah, I think that's alright. This makes it less likely that Sun Titan is going to want to swing in at us. Drop another Swamp into play. And then sacrifice the Skin Render so that we can get down our Necro Skitter. And this way, if our opponent's Sun Titan dies, it'll come back under our control. Our opponent drops a land and gets into a Tiger, and then they will get into the fetch land again. Yeah, they can swing in this turn because we only have a 1/4 in play. So that means that might have been worth getting down the Amit Eternal, actually, now that I think about it. But we get another minus counter onto Sun Titan at least. Then an Inferno Titan, and that will Lightning Bolt the Necro Skitter. Yeah, it's very good play by our opponent so far. No, they just do 1 damage to the Necro Skitter and 2 to us. A Forest for us. Let's get down our Commander again. And then we'll play Amit Eternal. And every time we get a minus counter onto our Zombie Crocodile Demon, we'll make a Death Touch Snake. A Silmgar's Command. Our opponent's got all the answers to everything here. A target creature gets -3/-3 and they bounce the Eternal back to our hand. We are left with a Snake token there because a minus counter went onto the Eternal and Hapatra saw that. Now the thing is, Inferno Titan can swing in and ping the Snake, so this has been a very good showing by our opponent. Getting the fetch back with Sun Titan. Pinging the Snake, like we said, 2 damage to us, and then we take 8 to the face. Then Golos comes back into play, and they'll be able to fetch another land out of the library. They're going for Alchemist Refuge, yeah, so it looks like they're going for the same tactic that we go for in the multiplayer version. If you activate Golos during your opponent's turn, no doubt they have, the Prophet of Kruphix in here, because that is legal in 1 versus 1. If you activate Golos during your opponent's turn, then you can't actually cast the stuff without flash, hence the Alchemist Refuge. I think we're just swimming against the tide here. So let's get down the Creekwood Liege and the Amit Eternal. And we'll just pass over like that. Now let's see if we can see some powerful Golos effects go off. A Cryptic Command. That is tap all creatures an opponent controls and draw a card. Yeah, so that gets them the win. They just swing in with everything. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Either Hapatra does nothing, in my experience, or she goes absolutely crazy. I might try and get some more recordings with her and try and show the more threatening side of her, assuming that we get into the good draws. We'll just say good game to our opponent. But yeah, at least got to see a very capable Golos Tireless Pilgrim in 1 versus 1. Yeah, that was a very good deck that our opponents built there. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching it. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching. Hapatra Vizier of Poisons versus Padeem, Consul of Innovation. We are not going to mulligan there. We'll get on with it, and we're on the draw, so hopefully we get into some more lands as the game progresses, especially when we're up against Mana Crypt and a Sky Diamond on turn 1. Don't think we really need to worry about artifact removal against mono blue, so let's just run out the Skull Clamp now. Still no lands from our opponent, but they do get into a star compass. So we will see our opponent's commander next turn, perhaps. Now, if they go for their commander, we won't be able to swing in past the Padeem, so I think instead we're going to go for Channeler Initiate, just to make sure that we've got mana next turn. Not seeing our opponent's commander, they've decided on Elixir of Immortality, and then a Cyclonic Rift onto our Channeler Initiate, using a lot of cards to not do a whole lot there, which is alright with me. We do get into a land, so I'm actually wondering now if it's worth going for the Hapatra followed by the Channeler Initiate, and then we can get some snakes going. Let's shock in an Overgrown Tomb. Oh, actually, we can play that in tapped, can't we? Yeah, let's go for the Hapatra here. And then pass it over to our opponent. Okay, a Regress. Return a permanent to its owner's hand. Still 4 cards in hand and no lands. Let's just ruin our opponent's day with a Maelstrom Wanderer. And yeah, they decide to scoop to that because that puts them back too far. I don't imagine that that's some kind of 0 lands deck, but well, they didn't have the best of luck getting into lands anyway, so let's get on with another one. Alright, up against the same player again, running the same deck. Hapatra Vizier of Poisons versus Padeem, Consul of Innovation. And yes, we do have access to green for that Mirri's Guile. So that's good. We're on the play this time. Let's get down the Llanowar Wastes and play Mirri's Guile. Start filtering our draws next turn. And our opponent does run lands. There is an island straight into a ponder. So we'll see how the deck is actually supposed to function here, I imagine. Looking at the top with Mirri's Guile, we see a land, a Necropotence and a Night's Whisper. We can actually draw into all of those if we wanted to. Yeah, let's go for the Night's Whisper on top. And then we'll draw into those cards. We'll drop a Reflecting Pool and play the Night's Whisper to draw into those cards. A Sapphire Medallion for our opponent, so if they drop another land they can get their commander down next turn. Maelstrom Pulse, I actually like all of those as well. What do we want to have in hand is the thing, and what are we casting this turn? Let's go for the Skim Render and the Maelstrom Pulse on top. We'll draw into the Maelstrom Pulse this turn, I think. Oh, actually, with Ancient Tomb, we won't have enough coloured mana for the Sakura Tribe Elder and the Hapatra, will we? So, in that case, let's just drop a black mana and we'll play out our commander. Now, we know our opponent's running a lot of bounce in this deck, which is clearly what they're holding up there. There's another land, Beast Within and Skim Render we already knew about. Let's get into the Skim Render this time. And then it's a case of, do we want to Maelstrom Pulse on the Sapphire Medallion or not? I think it's a really good mana rock, so it'll probably be worth doing that. Yeah, let's attack in with Hapatra, get a little bit of damage on the go, and we'll get a snake token here as well. And actually what we could do here is go for Generous Patron, couldn't we? And then play Sakura Tribe Elder as well. Yeah, let's go for that. Our opponent might be holding up counter magic, but I don't mind if they counter a Generous Patron, to be honest. So we'll knock the minus counter off Hapatra. And we'll put one on the snake as well. Then it's Sakura Tribe Elder. We've got Beast Within and a Forest on top, so we need to decide if we're desperate for that Beast Within. Okay, they are going for that bounce effect again, so it looks like this is bounce tribal. Don't really mind playing the Generous Patron again. Alright, Cowardice comes down. This is definitely some kind of bounce tribal deck. Whenever a creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, bounce it. Alright, Nest of Scarabs is definitely what we want here. Whenever you put one or more minus counters on a creature, you get that many insects. And that's one of the rare cases in which it actually cares how many minus counters you put down. So I think it's time to shuffle away the Beast Within, just so that we can get a couple of things going this turn. We'll drop a Bayou, and then it is Nest of Scarabs, followed up with a Maelstrom Pulse on that Cowardice. Then we will swing in with everything, and we'll put a minus counter on the Snake, which will not die thanks to the plus counter. And that also will get us into a insect token as well, thanks to Nest of Scarabs, which is particularly good when we put lots and lots of plus counters on lots of creatures with something like a Black Sun Zenith. Sacrifice Sakura Tribalder and we'll get into a forest. Now we really want to land our Necropotent, so yeah, I was going to say if they want to tap out on this turn then it's alright by me. But then deciding to do something else. Okay, Padeem comes down, followed by a Sapphire, not a Sapphire, a Sky Diamond. Zulaport Cutthroat, Diabolic Intent, and Beastmaster Ascension. Do we want a tutor? We don't necessarily care about a tutor if Necropotence is coming down because we're going to draw lots of cards. Yeah, perhaps go for Generous Patron and Skim Render this turn. So let's draw into Beastmaster Ascension, I think, if we're going to be getting lots of tokens. The thing we want to do with this is drop it down and activate it on the same turn. So we'll go Generous Patron, put a plus counter on Hapatra and the Insect token, then play out the Skim Render, and this will put 3 minus counters onto Padeem, which will make it difficult for our opponent to block. And because we put some counters on our opponent's stuff, we'll get a bunch of insects, a snake, and a card draw from Generous Patron. And we get into the Zulaport Cutthroat, which we put on top. Then we will swing in and see if our opponent is keen to keep their Padeem in play. Oh, actually, it doesn't matter what they do here. They might as well block, because if Hapatra gets through, we put a minus counter on it anyway, and that just gets us more value. So they do the right thing in blocking there. And now, because I think it's 7 quest counters we need on this. Yeah, 7 or more quest counters. Speaking of 7 mana, our opponent could Rift here. But yeah, if we play this and swing in with everything, everything will get +5/+5 and probably Alpha Strike our opponent. But it all depends on what our opponent does here. They haven't failed to make a land drop yet. Okay, Warrior of Invention. And that is X5 going in for Paradox Engine. I think that wouldn't necessarily do them a lot of good anyway because they've only got 1 rock in play. We will... Well, there's the Diabolic Intent coming back. Alright, this time it is getting into... Yeah, I think the Diabolic Intent is the thing to go for here. Although our plan is to drop the Beastmaster Ascension. Let's, just in case, we'll get down the Zulaport Cutthroat first. And then we'll drop Beastmaster Ascension. And hopefully this will get us the win. And our opponent sees it and decides to scoop. Yeah, Beastmaster Ascension, like I said before, whenever a creature you control attacks, you get a quest counter on it. And when it has 7 or more, all your creatures get +5/+5. We were swinging in with way more than 7 creatures here, so that would buff all of our creatures up to +5/+5 straight away, which is typically what we want to do with Beastmaster Ascension. But that is more like what we want to do with Hapatra Vizier of Poisons. Doesn't always pan out, and I haven't really ever seen a very strong Hapatra deck that can compete with the strong 1 versus 1 decks. So this is more of a casual deck that I like to pull out every now and then. But you must be sure to let me know what you think of it, and if you want to see more of it or not. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.